In Lebanon, a senior Hamas official praised South Africa's genocide case against Israel on Wednesday, calling it historic, courageous, and honorable. The president of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, assured the country is in a state of war after the violent actions of organized crime gangs. In Zimbabwe, the number of deaths from cholera has risen to 300, while health authorities report at least 5,000 suspected cases. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Lebanon, a senior Hamas official praised South Africa's genocide case against Israel on Wednesday, calling it historic, courageous, and honorable. During a news conference in Beirut, Osama Hamdan called on the International Court of Justice not to give in to the pressures of the U.S. administration to disrupt the case. On Thursday, a legal battle over whether Israel's war against Palestine is considered genocide opens Thursday at the United Nations top court. It will have preliminary hearings into South Africa's call for judges to order an immediate suspension of Israel's military actions. Hamdan also commented on U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's recent visit, saying that the diplomat sells solutions to the leaders he meets in the region.
We welcome and appreciate the positions of all countries that supported this historic, courageous and honorable position of the Republic of South Africa in filing this lawsuit against the Israeli occupation. We call on the International Court of Justice not to give in to the pressures and dictates used by the American administration to disrupt the work of this court, as this administration is a partner and responsible for the continuation of the genocidal war that continues to be committed against our people in Gaza.
Also on Wednesday, Palestinians gathered in Ramallah's Nelson Mandela Square to thank South Africa for its support for Palestine by filing a genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. The crowd held banners calling for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, as others waved Palestinian and South African flags. Ramallah Major Isaac Cassis thanked South Africa for filing the case and assuring that Israel's actions are genocidal.
Say thank you to South Africa. Thank you for filing case against occupation at the ICJ. We believe that many countries felt our pain, but South Africa decided to put it materially on paper, and file a case.
And the president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, on his social network X, shared a press release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stating that his government welcomes the lawsuit filed by South Africa against Israel at the International Court of Justice in The Hague for violation of several provisions of the 1948 Convention Against Genocide. The press release also referred that it is very clear that the actions and measures adopted by the government of Israel constitute acts of genocide. As a state, Israel is obligated to prevent these international crimes, and consequently, its failure to comply with these commitments entails its responsibility before the whole world. These are obligations erga omnes that have been breached. The communiqué also pointed out that South Africa's demand is a courageous step in the right direction, and Colombia intends to enforce the lofty objectives of the convention, to which it is also state party, and therefore intends to accompany and support this legal action through the procedural tools and remedies provided by the statute and practice of the International Court of Justice. Israeli attacks against Gaza have been progressively depriving its population of basic transportation and health services. Palestinians, however, do not give in and put in practice creative initiatives to make up for those limitations, as evidenced by the following story of this Palestinian merchant who turned his shop into a health center. Let's take a listen.
I am Zaki Shahin Kodor, graduated from nursing, professor at the Palestine University in the nursing faculty. Now I work as a merchant. During this war, I wanted to change the nature of my job, from merchant to health service provider. And we decided to turn this shop into an aid center. I had no more merchandise here, so I decided to turn the place into an assistance point. We made a great effort, and thank God we made it and started to work. We're attending cases of burns, fractures, and various types of injuries, in addition to diseases and problems like diarrhea and everything that can happen in a densely populated area, especially in a war. We take care of people living in camps and tents. It is very cold there, and people light fires for warmth, and they cause fires where especially children are at risk of getting burned. We do everything we can to help them. Today, there are around 1.7 million people in Rafah. That means a lot of people on the streets and everywhere. So we were forced to set up this health center, and we tried to attend emergency cases sent to us by UNRWA and the other nearby hospitals like the Emirati Hospital and the Rafah Central Clinic. Thank God we were able to provide some medical services to these people. To serve the people is a great honor for us. To these displaced people who are at war and cannot move around at night. That is, the injured or the ones with the medical emergency cannot move at night. There is no transportation or hospitals available, so we decided to serve those people.
The Israeli occupation army intensified its shelling and ground operations against middle and southern Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours, killing at least 147 people and injuring 243 others. According to the report issued this Wednesday by the Gaza Health Ministry, the number of Palestinians killed since October 2023 rose to 23,357, while the number of wounded reached 59,410. However, health authorities warned that the number of fatalities and those affected by the bombardments could continue to rise since several people are still under the rubble and on the roads. Ambulance and civil defense teams are advancing in their efforts to find more victims and possible survivors despite the persistent bombardments perpetrated by the occupying forces. On Wednesday, the Israeli government assassinated another Palestinian journalist. In the midst of the incessant bombing against the Palestinian civilian population, Heba al-Abdallah died with her little daughter, Judy. The attack, described by Palestinian human rights organizations as expressed and premeditated, occurred in Khan Yunis, south of Gaza. The magnitude, accuracy, and degree of destruction of the journalist's home confirmed the accusations. The Palestinian Information Center, after regretting the killing of the reporter and her daughter, ratified that the new crime is part of the Zionist attempt to silence the truth about war crimes in the Gaza Strip. While Heba's death, the number of journalists killed in 97 days of the genocidal operation rises to 111. Yemen's unmanned aerial missile and Navy forces attacked a U.S. ship transporting supplies to Israel. Following a joint operation, it was reported that the action responded to the malicious attack by U.S. enemy forces against Yemen's naval corps. This in reference to the destruction of 3 small vessels that were attempting to attack the commercial vessel of the Danish shipping company Maersk. In the document, the Yemeni army also assured that it would not hesitate to respond appropriately to all hostile threats within the framework of the right of self-defense of its country. It also reiterated that it continues to prevent Israeli and other ships from sailing to the ports of occupied Palestine and sailing in the Red Sea until the end of the Israeli aggression against the Gaza Strip. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met on Wednesday with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. This is his 4th tour of the Middle East since the Israeli-Palestinian conflict broke out again. The chief U.S. diplomat is trying to rally the region around post-war plans for Gaza, which must include concrete steps towards a Palestinian state. The approach faces serious obstacles, and Blinken is aware of that. On Tuesday, Blinken declared that Israel must stop taking steps that undermine the Palestinians' ability to govern themselves effectively, and emphasized the importance of moving toward a two-state solution. The government of Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, is adamantly opposed to the creation of a Palestinian state neighboring Israel. The Israeli post-war Gaza plan, presented on January 4th, did not include a political solution for all Palestine. In Netherlands, the International Criminal Court confirmed on Tuesday that it is investigating the killing of journalists in Gaza as possible war crimes. Several organizations dedicated to the defense of press workers and civil rights in general filed before the court based in The Hague a complaint for alleged war crimes perpetrated by the Israeli occupying forces in the framework of the genocidal operation launched after the incursion of Hamas into Israeli territory. The court's prosecutor's office, headed by Karim Khan, confirmed that the list of facts it is investigating includes the murder of press workers, many of them executed with their families. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. The president of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, assured that the country is in a state of war after the violent actions of organized crime gangs. The head of the state insisted that they will not give in to the pressure of terrorist groups made up of some 20,000 people in the national territory. The president also warned the judges, police and military that if they collaborate with the criminals, they will be judged for the same crime. Noboa also announced that this week will begin the extradition of the foreign prison population. The country was declared by the national executive in a state of war after multiple escapes of leaders of criminal groups from different penitentiaries. In Ecuador, authorities reported that at least 139 people have been held for 72 hours in several prisons in the country. Prison authorities confirmed that 125 penitentiary guards and 14 members of the administrative staff are currently being held in the prisons of the provinces of Azuay, Cañar, Napo, Tungurahua, and Cotopaxi. Meanwhile, in Esmeraldas, there are currently 10 prison guards and 3 people being held, including the prison director. The kidnapped have been used by their captors to record videos with demands to the government under the threat of death. It is reported that this is the 5th time in 2 years that prisoners have held prison officials in jail to demand the prohibition of entry to security forces to prevent the transfer of prison leaders to other facilities. This Tuesday, the government of Peru decided to declare a state of emergency on the border with Ecuador in the midst of the wave of violence that is shaking the neighboring country. The information was released by the Peruvian Prime Minister Alberto Otarola. This is a consequence of the violence registered in the Ecuadorian city of Guayaquil during the last hours. The Prime Minister assured that a contingent of police officers has been deployed to support the security forces currently stationed at the border with Ecuador to carry out more intense control of the transit of people.
When a state of emergency is declared, the armed forces are ordered to come to support the national police, and of course, they will be in transit. We have a series of military establishments that are coordinating. The ministers of the ground are going to coordinate the operational part, but we want to assure you that the decision taken by President Boluarte to give tranquility and calm, especially to the population of Tumbes and Piura, there has been a little alarm by this event.
Argentina's Congress continues the debate on the Omnibus Bill, a proposal which, according to critics of Javier Milei's government, intends to affect the economy and diminish the political rights of the citizens. The Chamber of Deputies resumed the debate started on Tuesday, which counted with the presence of officials of the executive power who spoke about the chapters of emergency, state reform and justice. In this Wednesday's session, the deputies will debate on the bill of basis and starting point for the freedom of Argentines. It is expected that during the day, the Minister of Security and officials of the Ministry of Economy will make presentations on their respective managements in relation to the project promoted by the current President of Argentina. Also in Argentina, basic food basket products increased by more than 100% during the first 30 days of Javier Milei's government. The main consultants estimate an increase of approximately 30% while waiting for the publication of the inflationary data for the first month of the term as a consequence of the repeal of the supply and gondola laws, which eliminated price controls, resulting in the increase in products such as meat, milk and flour. This, together with the rising trend of the dollar, which varies between the official and the informal price, which exceeds by nearly 50 percentage points. Bolivia's government affirms that the progress of industrialization will guarantee productive sovereignty and at the same time it is a source of sustainable jobs. The President Luis Arce, during his speech for the 53rd anniversary of the state metallurgical company Vinto, denounced that there are people interested in sabotaging industrialization in the country. Arce emphasized the importance of this process to improve the income and quality of life of the citizens. Additionally, he affirmed that this project will contribute to the independence as well as the consolidation of a good economy. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news, coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Zimbabwe, the number of deaths from cholera has risen to 300, while health authorities report at least 5,000 suspected cases. According to the Ministry of Health, the increase in the number of cases registered since September 2023 is due to the consumption of unsafe water, public gatherings, and the poor state of the sewers, a situation that led the government to declare the capital, Harare, in a state of emergency. In view of the critical situation, the authorities called on the population to comply with the hygiene standards and protocols in order to prevent further spread, while launching a cleanup campaign to remove some 200 metric tons of waste, which is seriously disrupting essential services in the midst of a complex sanitary situation. The government of Uganda will destroy more than 5.6 million doses of anti-COVID-19 vaccines that have expired due to slow uptake and declining demand in the country. According to an audit report, these vaccines, valued at 28,100 million Uganda shillings, or $7.3 million, were effectively distributed in the country, but in the end were never applied. In view of this, they will be withdrawn from the health centers by the health authorities and subsequently destroyed. The audit report revealed that total losses from expired COVID-19 vaccines will exceed $78 million by the end of the year. Indonesia's Mount Lewotowih Laki-Laki erupted again on Wednesday, spreading clouds of ash 2 kilometers above its summit. Meanwhile, authorities raised the volcano's alert status to the highest level. The eruption follows weeks of intense volcanic activity on the mountain located on the eastern Indonesian island of Flores and prompted the local government to issue an evacuation order by nearby residents. Local authorities set up 2 temporary shelters currently housing some 5,000 people. The Southeast Asian archipelago lies in the Pacific Ring of the Fire, an area of intense volcanic and seismic activity which has about 130 volcanoes. In Germany, a strike of train drivers who are demanding a wage increase and labor improvement took place on Wednesday. The German railroad company Deutsche Bahn informed that due to the strike, rail traffic will be restricted to the public. In this sense, the operator advised the public to refrain from traveling by train until the strike is over. For its part, the union demanded an increase of €555 per month, as well as the transition from a 38 to a 35-hour working week. Meanwhile, the company indicated that it is ready to agree only on a one-time reward and a wage increase of 11% for 32 months. At the same time, more than 70 highways were blocked by German farmers who reject the measures implemented by the government in December 2023. Protesters denounced the budget-saving measures, which involve eliminating subsidies for diesel fuel and tax exemptions foreseen for means of transport used in the forest sector, economy and agriculture. Demonstrators assured that protests will spread to other states until the government listens to their demands. The United Nations General Assembly approved on Wednesday the resolution presented by the G77 and China to establish the International Day of Science, Technology and Innovation for the South every September 16th. The proposal, introduced by Cuba as chair of the bloc, was agreed earlier by the heads of states and government participating in the group's summit held in Havana in September 2023. The text recognizes the key role of scientific technical advances in economic growth and sustainable development, the implementation of the 2030 Agenda, the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, the Political Declaration on the Sustainable Development Goals, and the importance of collaboration between countries for scientific development. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.